Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Kimberly Danielle, and I am a communication strategist, a coach, and community builder who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And I am here with Stephen.
Hey, Kimberly. I am a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. For over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. And so in this episode, we're revisiting a conversation that gently yet radically challenges our understanding of success. Our dear friend and our time with him, Nipun Mehta, founder of ServiceSpace, is a provocateur par excellence, and he has some really good stuff to say in this episode.
Yeah, Nipun reminded us that a world that is built on kindness, generosity, and trust is not only possible, but it's already happening. And I think his work is a direct reflection of that. His reflections leading his staff, or leading without a staff, I'm sorry, because he has no team. He has a team, but they're volunteers.
That's right.
And so think about that. So he gives his reflections on that, on fundraising, hierarchy, stretch that what it stretches really what we believe business can be and what it can look like versus what we've been taught that it should look like. So in his call to center heart intelligence in the age of AI is definitely timely right now. I was just recently listening to a podcast episode, The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett and Simon Sinek. And Simon was talking about the thing that AI cannot replace is this human connection. And AI is not going to capture the empathy that we need to learn, or we should learn as humans, and with these other skills as well. And so that heart intelligence, I think, is so important as we, think about the pros, the cons, the tensions, the challenges, and the opportunities that AI can hold for us. But that piece around kindness, an act of kindness and heart intelligence is what we should embody, not just as humans, but also as entrepreneurs.
I mean, it just blows your mind when you think about what he has done and the type of people and the resources that he is being able to kind of amass globally to do this work. And it's an inspiring business model, if you can call that, in the sense that, what he oftentimes says that they're working with creative constraints. And he says that, that is his deepest genius. And so he kind of lifts up these 3 things, which is to work with heart, which means no transaction or paid staff or volunteers. The second one is to trust the universe in deep acts of reciprocity. And in that instance, he's talking about no fundraising. And then the third one is don't try to sell your impact. Forget about big impact. It's all about small acts of kindness. Now you take those 3 things and imagine that for your actual business model. So what he says, oftentimes the answer is not between a right and a wrong, but maybe it's between 2 right things. And so if you've been longing to reconnect with the why behind your work, this episode just might help you return to your why, your center. So let's get ready to listen to Nipun and jump in. I am also excited, Kimberly, for our conversation guest today, who is Nipun Mehta. If you don't know him, and after you hear this podcast, look this brother up, because he has done so much and is just a poster child for all good things and acts of kindness. Nipun is the founder of ServiceSpace, which is a global community working at the intersection of technology, volunteerism, and a gift culture. And as a designer of large-scale social movements that are rooted in small acts of kindness and service that are powered by micro movements of inner transformation, his work has uniquely catalyzed many-to-many networks of community builders grounded in their local communities and rooted in practice and cultivating compassion. More recently, ServiceSpace's pandemic response showcased the beauty of its agile ecosystem. Today, ServiceSpace reaches millions every month and is powered by the thousands of volunteers and blossoms into every expanding local and virtual service projects that aim to ignite a whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Nipun was honored as an unsung hero of compassion by the Dalai Lama. Not long before, the former U.S. President Obama appointed him to the Council of Addressing Poverty and Equity in the U.S. And yet, the core of what strikes anyone who meets him is the way his life is, and he attempts to bring a smile in the world and silence in his heart. And what he's always says that I want to live simply, to love purely, and to give fearlessly. That's me. I spent a few days with Nipun last year and then at the top of this year. And let me tell you, he is a man of his words, and he is definitely an embodiment of kindness and service and inner transformation. You are in for a treat today. So Nipun, it's good for you to be here with us today.
Oh, I am so happy. I'm beaming. My heart is smiling just because I'm in the company of both of you. And because I know you stand for all the same values that I also stand for. And I think it's just kind of lifts your heart up, when you're in the company of kindred spirits. So thank you for having me.
So ServiceSpace is powered and led by volunteers. I want you to share a little bit more about this business model and how it disrupts the field of business, really, and provides an alternative approach to entrepreneurship. And I mean, for you all who are listening in, when I say volunteer power, when Nipun says volunteer powered, there are no full-time staff members, right? No full-time team members.
Yeah.
So can you share more about that?
Yeah. The thing for me that has always baffled me is if you look at nature and what nature rewards kindness. Nature doesn't reward transaction. Nature doesn't reward accumulation. So if I get $1 million and it's sitting in my pocket, like the kind of reward mechanisms that nature has don't get triggered. But if I do an act of kindness, I mean, this is Michael Norton's research at Harvard. He went to people and he said, look, I'm going to give you some money. You can do two things. You can spend it on yourself, go to a mall, buy something, or you can give it to a stranger. And the moment you give it to a stranger, even if you're a skeptic in your mind, the moment you give it to a stranger, you get rewarded with all this dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and all these endorphins, right? And you're like, wow, why is nature rewarding me for doing an act of kindness? And if it is rewarding me, why don't we have institutions that are actually built in alignment with nature? But there's a much bigger game, a much more infinite game in town. And that's love. And nature totally rewards that. And so you look at that and you say, why the heck don't we have systems that actually tap into this labor of love, that actually multiply it, that regenerate it? And what happens to the collective effect? So it's one thing for me to be in that space in me. And it's one thing for you to be in that space in you, but what happens when we do it together in a shared space? Like, is there a regenerative function? And there absolutely is. And so how do we start to innovate in this direction? But I think we've been too decapacitated by the market stories and the market norms, which clearly aren't working for everybody. Like, we know that. And we still play these zero-sum games and we say, oh, like, let's go out and get, it's like if one funder is giving money and you and I are both competing for it, even if I win, you lose, right? Like, and that's not a good, there's got to be a better way. Like, we got to be able to find a better party, you know? And so I happen to think that, like, this is the better party, man. We all win. And we all win by not playing these narrow, finite games. And I think we need to look at our transactional, market-driven stories in that way, and look at our character, our values, our heart, as the primary story, something we lead every day with, every moment with. So we've been trying to push at that, you know, by being the change, not in any aggressive way, not in a right or wrong way, but just like, hey, we're a bunch of kids, man. Go ahead, dude. We don't know any better. We're just going to try. And, you know, if we fail, please, on my epitaph, you can write that here died a man who was recklessly generous. I'm good with that, man. I'm good. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of different experiments for the last 25 years in this direction. And I think initially it was like, sounded like a bunch of well-meaning folks. Then it was like, oh, there's the collective intelligence in such a space is very different. So if you put like 1,000 staff people together, forget 1,000, even if you put 100 staff people together in one place and you say, let's dream something up, you would get, a bunch of really cool things. And a lot of innovation has come from those market-driven spaces. But you put a bunch of I don't know, Dr. Kings and Gandhis and Mother Teresas of the world together who are just moved by love. And you put 100 of them, and not just larger than life famous people, but everyday heroes, right? People that you may not have heard of in such grand ways. If you had like a whole bunch of people coming together with that spirit, like what is the ceiling of that? And I think we haven't explored that as humanity. And so I think that's what we've been doing in ServiceSpace. So initially it sounded like a small, experiment. But then as it started to scale up, the kind of intelligence and the kind of innovations and the kind of ripple effect that we saw was something that you just cannot replicate with transactional mindsets. And so I feel very lucky at a personal level, even if I died today. I feel lucky that I have gained so much confidence in that law of love that has been eternal, but just its presence is kind of a little diminished in our world today.
What 1 to 2 resources would you recommend to founders, especially tech founders leveraging generative AI, who want to approach their business with more compassion and generosity with a focus on community?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an off the wall answer on this, Kimberly, if I'm allowed.
You are allowed.
I would go to a tech entrepreneur and I would say, go and do an act of kindness to start. Ground yourself in that reality, because I think what AI is going to be amazing at is going to be far greater than individual intellectual quotient, the IQ. There is no way we're going to be able to compete with AI. But AI cannot include heart intelligence, right? And there is no way, even if we have artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence, which is on deck in a few years, it will be far inferior to collective heart intelligence. And so I would say the biggest resource is our humanity. That if you are gonna engage with AI, you could think in terms of cost benefit analysis in the short term, and say, oh my God, it takes you 5 staff to do this. I could do this with with the snap of a finger. And that's true. You could, and you will be able to increasingly do more and more things like that. But I think the deeper design question is, what are you actually trying to solve in the broader margin goal? Right? Where exactly you're a founder of a company, you have a certain mission, you want to be sustainable. That's good. That's fine. But ultimately, what is the benefit to humanity that you are seeing, and how do you work backwards from there, and draw a through line to the narrow goals? Not like the other way, not say, hey, I want to start here. Once I get all my ducks in order, then I'll think about the greater good. I would say that think about the broader margin goals first and then go here. And I would say that keeping the human at the center, keeping the heart at the center is very important as you navigate all of this. And so if you're just going to automate, there's like a lot of theories of change that we're completely bypassing through this kind of momentum. So as tech founders with heart, with faith in a deeper narrative, you have to go in and ask and say, well, I can make this faster. I can make this, I can increase a lot of capacity in this way. I can be a lot more creative even. But what values are you really trying to propagate? To think about that, not as an afterthought, but as a forethought, to lead with that, to continue to keep that in the center and to end with that. It would be my hope, especially people in your community. I think those are the folks that will do that. So I would say that's my off the wall. It's not like, hey man, go to this because this stuff is moving so fast. So even if you say go to this resource or that resource, it's like, yeah, like next month it's going to be a whole different ballgame. And so we're just able to do so much. Like you could type something and it just creates videos based on that. You can, with 3 seconds of someone's voice, you can just create a whole clip. There's this incredible website called Infinite Conversation. I mean, this is a year old, and in AI time, that's like ancient. But a year ago, you had this German philosopher, this German filmmaker, and this Slovenian philosopher, and they both have huge corpuses of their information. And AI is just generating all kinds of content. And it's in their voice, and they're actually talking to each other. And this was a year ago. And now, 2 days ago, OpenAI has just released something where this multimodal AI, their latest model, GPT-4o, and where like my AI can talk to your AI, like literally your phone and my phone talk to each other, and they sing songs and complete each other's lyrics. And they have a demo of this that they just put out 2 days ago. And so it's kind of amazing, and it's kind of awe-inspiring, and there's a little bit of terror embedded in it as well. But I would say that people of faith, right, founders who are leading with heart, have to go in there and ask different questions. They have to say, okay, both of those things are there, but how will I bend the arc? And I think I love entrepreneurs because they're not looking to create, they're not looking to manage the current pie, right? Like they are actually looking to broaden the pie, but broaden the pie in which direction? And I think this is where you have to ask that question. So I would say, go out, do an act of kindness. The greatest resource we have is our heart. Is not our heads, is not our ideas. AI is going to be able to do all that for us. But our greatest resource is our heart. And so that little act of kindness, it sounds so simple. And it sounds almost silly to be here on a podcast and be like, it's not this website or that website. But it's actually like just going out and doing something and seeing what is the intelligence that's activated in your entire apparatus, like in your entire being. And how do I marry that wisdom and that aliveness, as Howard Thurman would say, just dude, what the world needs most are people who have come alive in that way. How do I marry that with my product, with my company, with my business, and achieve all the narrow margin goals? So lead with that first.
So acts of kindness, and then you all got various tools to go and explore, but do them both at the same time. And if you're listening in and you want to access more resources to help build your business for good, you can go to dogoodx.org. And here you can join our Do Good X LinkedIn community where we share resources, tips, and tools. We'll take some of what Nipun shared and share it there as well to provide entrepreneurs and change makers with a community of support. So we hope to see you there.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.